All in favor?
Isn't any other significant change other than the fact that the ladies or those employees will be reporting directly to chief. So it's just a smooth transition over to the police department. We will have a change of statuses documentation informing the employees that are being transferred and notifying them of who their immediate supervisor will be, who that will be effective the decision made at tonight's board meeting. But other than that, unless you all have questions.
I'll go ahead and leave the floor open to council if you guys have.
Dealing with the police department, and they've been working together for a while now, so it makes sense for them to move over. I think it's just logical.
Any other questions from council? If there's no further discussion, can I get a motion on the table, please?
Move to approve.
I have a motion made by Councilman Weeks, seconded by Councilman Garcia to approve amending and the approval of the chain of command to move the head court clerk and junior clerk from under the supervision of the town clerk to under the supervision of the police. Motion will carry 4-0. Thank you,
Mayor,
guys.
just really quick comment from an HR standpoint to roll out the revised chain of command, updated chain of command. So I do recommend that Ms. Norma either provide it electronically or in paper.
Okay, sounds good.
And Mayor, I also have a comment, receive any, and just so that the public is aware, by doing this transitional change of administrative oversight to the two clerks, I just want obviously you, Mayor, and the town council and the public to know that I don't want them to perceive that happening, moving that under the chief on a perform its function as an independent judiciary. So this is just mostly administrative oversight. So unless you all have some questions, I just wanted to put it out there for you all and for the public. Chief, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's exactly correct.
All right. Thank you, Henry. Moving on to item 2, discussion, consideration, and action on an ordinance 2021-037-0412, of the Town of Anthony, Texas. Sorry about that, gentlemen. Adopting water and wastewater rates. Henry or Ms. Castillo?
Mayor, on this ordinance, you all may recall that the town council had approved the water and wastewater rates that were presented. You all may recall that it was the transitional plan, which I believe was option 2, that was recommended. As there were a couple of options, but option 2 was the one that you all had elected to do a transitional increase in the water wastewater rates. That was approved back in, I believe it was June. It was an inadvertent oversight. It's being presented now, Mayor and Council. The ordinance that you see in front of you is an ordinance adopting the water and wastewater rates. The option 2, the transitional plan, that was approved by the town council back on June the 10th, 2019, at that regular town council meeting. If you all have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'm sure Norma would be as well.
If there's nothing or anybody doesn't have anything to say, if you want to move forward with a motion.
I'll go ahead and move to approve.
All right. Motion made by Councilman Garcia to approve ordinance 2021-037-0412 of the Town of Anthony, Texas, adopting the water and wastewater rates. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Alfaro. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry 4-0.
I would need a roll call, Mayor.
Go ahead, Ms. Castillo.
Mayor Pro Tem Weeks,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilman Chavez is absent, Councilman Alfaro,
Yes.
On to item 3. Discussion, consideration, and action on an ordinance 2021-0 of the Town of Anthony, Texas, amending the water system rate schedule in ordinance number 2021-037-0412 to provide for the addition of a base fee for an 8-inch meter. Rate scale for that meter to charge accordingly for water and sewer. So basically, we're just doing the formality of presenting it to council and to the councilman. If not, or if there's no further discussion, if we can get a motion on the table, please. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Alfaro.
I'll second.
To amend the Texas Water System Rate Schedule in ordinance number 2021-037-0412 to provide for the addition of a base fee for an 8. Any opposed? Motion will carry 4-0.
I will need roll call, please. Chavez is absent, Councilman Alfaro,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Flores.
Yes.
4, discussion, consideration, and action on Texas Gas Service Company's annual reporting requirement per rate schedule pipeline integrity testing rider for April 2021 through March 2022. Being presented by our attorney, Mr. Henry Palomares. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Town Council, this is an item that you all may recall. We usually put it on every year. On a yearly basis, it's required by law for them to perform this testing and make sure everything is, all their equipment is operating properly. Obviously, as part of their rate case, they're allowed to recover the reasonable and necessary costs from this pipeline integrity safety testing. And so they're allowed by law to do that every year. incurred and then how much they recovered during the year based on the previous year's rate. So this is what you have in front of you. It's the through March 2022. The new rate came out to an increase on the average monthly bill. Again, this item was put on here as a consideration and action item, but there's no action required. It's mostly for you all that this goes on an annual basis. So you'll see this again every year. Any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, if there's no further comment, do Councilwoman Soledad Flores to approve.
Mayor, we don't need sorry to interrupt there, Mayor.
Sorry, no action taken on this one.
No
action taken. It's just FYI for the town council and the public. So.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Henry.
Sure.
Moving on to item 5, discussion consideration. Yes, sir.
So as you all may or may not know, we have 2 vacancies. One of them which was left vacant by Officer Sal. 2 additional vacancies on patrol. We have Officer Maldonado right now assigned as a school resource officer to Anthony ISD. So Mr. Villarreal has a background at multiple, one of the requirements that was enacted by legislation a couple of years ago. So since Officer Villarreal still needs transition over, Officer Maldonado intended with -3 officers, which is with Corporal that have been out in medical leave. So with your permission, I would like to appoint Mr. Villarreal, since right now he is a reserve officer, as a school resource officer.
The floor is open to council, men and women. Any questions, comments? If there's no questions or, okay, motion to approve made by Councilman Alfaro. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 to approve and appoint Officer Villarreal as a full-time school resource officer. Thank you, Chief. Moving on to departmental reports for streets, all the information, and we submitted the necessary documentation for TxDOT to allow us to start taking and removing some of those pine trees along Franklin and Antonio Street. So our guys will be, they have started some work on that and transplanting them there to the park area. They're going to continue to do so, and pretty much we'll continue to go from there. Moving on to Parks and Recreation.
Franklin Street and Antonio Street, and they were planted back into the park, sir, in the Memorial Park, and some went to the baseball field as well, sir. Okay, we gave the turning green, sir.
Good, sir. Anything else to add for Parks and Rec?
No, sir, that's about it.
Okay, moving on to item C, Police and Fire. Chief Enriquez.
More aggressively. We have had a high number of incidences occurring, calls for service. Shootings up in the desert area. I know Mayor was one of the ones that contacted me, not this past week, the weekend before. Here are as far as where you can shoot or you cannot shoot. Since Pipeline Road does cross in New Mexico, people have a hard time again distinguishing where they can shoot, and they're not being safe about what direction they're firing at the berms and how the berms are, and how fast and how far these rounds can actually travel. So the officers have been out there. However, the last time the mayor did call us out there, we went out there, but the officers had to break away because we had a domestic violence in progress at the park. So more boots on the ground, if you will. But again, we're out there. We've been getting a higher calls for like and on Main. So and be everywhere it was, but we're trying to get.
I did see that the radars there at the park, the ones that were set up, are finally functioning properly. And Sunday morning this past week too, right here, right behind the house here, some kid, they didn't even bother to go further up. They just stopped right there at the end of the road. Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys, kind of stay on top of that, and we'll call it in whenever we deal with those issues. But other than that, everybody stay safe, Chief. You make sure you guys and your officers are staying safe. I know things are getting a little crazy, so just be safe, guys. Anything else? Anything regarding break-ins or anything like that? Pretty much not. Just more of the.
Right now, right now we've seen a higher increase in a lot of, we've had a significant number of drug usage arrests. We've had a lot of meth arrests. We are going to see a higher arrest rate of marijuana usage. Channel 7 did reach out to me when they were passing out. They got my input on it. So what I told Channel 7 is that we're going to try to actively educate the people as far as where Texas and New Mexico join. So they know that they can't bring it into Texas. And if they do, I mean, they're going to suffer the consequences. Unfortunately, I know that legislation in New Mexico is doing away as in New Mexico, but they're going to pick up charges, especially if they have THC and felony charges in Texas. So we just want the citizens of New Mexico just to be aware of don't bring it into Texas, just keep it in New Mexico. But again, we know no real break-ins that we've been dispatched to. There's been more a higher rate of domestic violence, drug usage, DWIs. So those have been our top three this last month.
Moving on to item D, water and sewer, Mr. Jaques.
On the well, sir, well number 2, they are working out there, sir. They already poured the concrete where the pump's gonna be at. They're doing the slab, so we're getting ready to we're moving forward to getting that well pretty soon back in service, sir. And as far as on the sewer, you were out there with us when we had the little hiccup on the plant. We were able to bring it back under control, sir, and we're able to grab those samples for the state. Okay, and we are grabbing arsenic samples tomorrow, sir, for the state as well. But that's going to be on the groundwater, sir. Just to let you know. But everything seems to be okay.
Mr. Palomares, if you have anything to add.
No, sir, I don't have nothing to add.
And that'll be pretty much Chiefs Avenue by the next meeting.
So I have the report that Sally sent out. It's about
Yes,
35,000 that was collected. Can you guys see the graph?
Yes, sir.
So she did a pretty cool graph as far as citation goes. So if you see right here in the month of January, in 2020 we had 251 citations. 2021, 113. February 211 to 151. March 179 to 171. So in April of last year we had 202. Yet of course we don't have those numbers. So we've seen a decline, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it shows that the officers are very busy taking care of other calls for service. And again, it shows that the speed trailer signs they're trying to we have for future. And then
Awesome.
And then the courts, they're having court every Wednesday, starting on the 14th at 10 and 2.
Sounds good, Chief. Some of the findings and stuff to Ms. Castillo. I think we should be coming up pretty soon in the next couple meetings to go over the audit with you guys. And then we'll go from there. And then regarding administration, at this moment in time, I don't have much to add. I know, Chief, with what we had with the COVID shot, right, at the Vinton substation, they showed it on the news. They had such a huge attendance from people wanting to get the shot. I heard that the lines were all the way up to the Riverside Hardware store in Canutillo. We did send some of our guys to offer some additional help. So I think once Chief Esparza looks to getting another one set up, maybe we can go from there and coordinate a little bit extra help for the gentlemen and the guys there at the West Valley to get this thing done. But any other insight or any other word from that, Chief?
The only other thing is that they administered about 2,000 was going on and how the community was responding to it, especially when they found out it was a Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Some way when the line got, backed up like you wouldn't imagine. He is hopeful that he'll get another allocation. We don't know when, but he does want to come back out. The only reason that it was done in the Vinton station is because they needed to do a minimum of 3 lanes to be able to vaccinate people and get them up and going. Yeah, so he wanted to do it in Anthony. However, at the fire station, we could only do the first two would be end up for one away. So that wasn't going to be something that was going to be doable. So in 3 lanes, it was all the way to Riverside Hardware. Imagine come back out to Anthony, and he'll let us know, and then we'll be back out there.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Chief. That's it for us. The next regular council. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Weeks, seconded by Councilman Garcia. All in favor to adjourn the meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.